And as if by magic, this motor is out and this motor is in. I haven't finished the installation yet, but I've got it out of the shed and put it in place, and I've just put the radiator on. I've got to plug up some holes, put the carb on, and put the fuel pump on. And I think for simplicity I'll probably do best to just borrow these parts off here, as I know these are good running units. This is the old 59A Flatty, the one that had that bad vibration. And first of all I rebalanced the flywheel, and then when it was able to run at higher revs due to the rebalanced flywheel, I found a bad rattle, and that turned out to be one of the pistons hitting the head. So what I've done, I've taken, let's have a look. Under there is the engine that I called the painting engine. It was that very, very dirty engine. And I've taken the crank rods and bearings from this engine and put them in this engine. So I thought, well, I will put it on the stand, fire it up, and just see how it sounds. How it, you know, does it rattle, does it knock, does it generate oil pressure? It'll be interesting to get it running. And it's a lot easier to put it in here, where you can just drop it in. You don't have to mount a gearbox, you don't have to put the engine mounts on. The radiator just drops down onto the cross member there. These bolts, you know, haven't even got nuts on them. It's got plain, it will have just plain water in rather than antifreeze. So yeah, it's really easy actually. I might have to get like a dedicated one, you know, maybe based on something like that. But no, this is pretty handy. Anyway, okay, righto, I'll work on it again tomorrow, and I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Cheers then, bye. I think I've got it ready to run. I've got it hooked up, and I've borrowed lots of parts from this engine, which is the old plodder motor, which is a good running engine now with that French oil pump in it. I'm going to leave the fuel turned off, and I'm going to crank it. I've filled it with oil. I'm going to crank it till I see oil pressure. Then I'll turn the fuel pump on, and then I'll turn the ignition on. So let's see what happens. Here's the key. And what you should hear is the tone change as it starts pumping pressure, because it adds a load to the engine. Okay, sticky starter. Ooh. There, can you see there's some oil pressure starting to build? So let's turn the fuel on. Let's connect up the distributor. Okay, so that's on now. Oh, and I need to connect that as well. Oh, that's pulled out by the look of it. This should have a washer on it to stop it coming out, but I don't know where that's gone. So that's going to just get shoved up there for now. Okay, so the ignition is on. And let's see what happens if we just crank it. Wonder why it's done that. Wonder if it's run out of fuel. Problem is the car's full of rubbish. Hang on. What does that say? Naught. Well, it appears to be bobbing about on some fuel, doesn't it? Okay. Let's try manually pumping it here. Okay, just try it again, see what happens. So I'll leave it running now, and I'll just let it run, and I'll see what it's like after about half an hour. I'll leave the camera running because that'll be my means of timing it. I'll have to put the fan on in a minute. I've opened both the doors so it doesn't get too fumy, and open the little door at the back there. My electric fan is still very noisy. I ran this the other day with that motor in, and the electric fan has had it. I tried to get it apart, but I couldn't get it apart. I'll have to make some little silencers to go on, something that's easy to fit. I've filled it with 20W50, and this motor's got the sort of 59A type pump, the long pump with the slightly taller gitters and with the relief valve built into it. But this crank and these bearings are completely unknown to me. I did measure them and there's a fair bit of play in them. But these old floater bearing engines don't seem too bothered by, you know, what you might call excessive play. Probably because there's like 2 oil films. The other thing that this engine has got is, I mean, if I'm showing this after showing the other videos, I will have already seen this and you'll see me do it. But I built this engine quite a long time ago and it's been in the shed since, waiting to run. But now I've got the engine test stand set up, in other words the Roadster, I've been able to run it. It's got the rear crank seal converted from slinger to rope seal, but I didn't have the correct thing to go in the cap, so I've kind of built it up with JB weld. So just a bit of an experiment on that part as well. Sounds happy enough though. It'll be interesting to see if there's a lot of oil leakage at the back. That's run 20 minutes so far without getting too hot. And it's not like it's a freezing cold day, it's quite mild today. It's getting on towards late October now. Oil pressure doesn't seem too bad. Let's see what it's like in about another 20 minutes. Yeah, I'll put the electric fan on now. There's some water coming out, look. It's not boiling, it's just finding its own level. To buy a new electric fan. This pushes this way, it's really hot. That's really hot, that is. Chucks a hell of a lot of heat out, you know. This is a Mustang radiator. Got a leak here. I'm going to get a cup of tea on the go, I'll be back in a bit. 37 minutes on the recording. And the oil pressure is fine, isn't it? I'll leave it so I've got about 45 minutes on the recording, so I'll come back in a little bit. Okay, that's 44 minutes 48 seconds on the clock. Now obviously I didn't start it straight away. Check the temp. Okay, I'll turn the fan off. Actually that fan sounds better than it did. Okay, we've got about 13 psi oil pressure and an oil leak. But as regards the crank and bearings, I think that's alright. So really this one just needs something doing with the rear main seal. Okay. Quite hot actually. Okay, right. So a mixed success there. Success on the one thing that it runs alright and it maintains oil pressure, but a failure that it's leaking oil that badly. Okay. Okay, so mixed success on that. Success on the sort of thing that the crank and the bearings seem okay, doesn't seem to rattle. I revved it up a couple of times, it seems okay. It seems to have oil pressure, not tons of oil pressure, but oil pressure. This one hasn't got the thing jacked high at the front, but it has an oil leak, which I don't know if I'm interested in trying to repair or not. It was an experiment to see if I could adapt it from a slinger to a rope seal. I'll have to see if I can buy the specific part. Okay, righto. Thanks very much for joining me in the garage then. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers then, bye. I've took the engine out of the Roadster chassis and I put it on the engine stand. I haven't really stripped it down. I thought I'd try and get straight to the crux of the matter and see what's going on. You can see lots of oil has come down here. And you can see lots of oil has come down from this area here, from the starter area, and it's all round this area here. This, I believe, was just from me draining it. So, yes, let's get the oil pan off. I'll be back in a bit. Hello, right, the oil pan came off simple enough. I don't know if I mean, there's the inside of the flywheel. I mean, this has just come away. That's just sitting there. I don't think I used any sealant at all. I think I was just trying to put it together like they would have put it together at the factory. I'm kind of guessing they wouldn't use any sealant. But the bottom line is it leaking past this seal on here? Okay. I don't know what this oil pump pickup design is from. But I had to modify the baffle to clear it. Okay, this is the oil pan. So what's going on in this area here? See, this has got oil running down, and there's a lot of oil running out of there. See, that's oily both sides, isn't it? I wonder if these gaskets were just not capable of being used, you know, a second or third time. I don't know. I think I'll take the oil pump off just to get it out of the way, and I'll take this rear main off and see what it looks like. But the flywheel's been immersed in the oil. Hello, right, here's my main cap. This is the seal that I had in originally, and what I've done, I've put it in, but behind it, you might be able to see, yeah, there's a piece of this, a strip of this inserted behind the seal to give the seal some sort of preload. It looks like it's making good contact. And what I've done, I've just put a bit of silicone sealant there, and a bit of silicone sealant there, and a bit of sealant there, and a bit of sealant there, and I'm going to put it on now. I just put a bit of oil there. I put it on yesterday, but I've just took it off again because I thought I'd try and just put a little bit more sealant around it. The old YouTube one-handed, left-handed. Okay. So what I'll do now, I will put the nuts on and torque those up, and then I will put the rest of the gaskets on. I'll use some of my new gaskets that I've made, and I'll put a bit of sealant in the corner there, and button it up. Put the oil pump back on, of course. Righto. You don't need to see me do that. It's all standard stuff, nothing out of the ordinary. So I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Cheers then. Bye. I'm road testing some homemade gaskets. I made some homemade gaskets. I don't think I've ever put out the video with them on. I might have shown them briefly if I've showed another video where I've used one. But I never showed me making them. Rather, I've filmed it, but I've never put it out as a video. These are made from a 2mm cork stroke nitrile rubber sheet cut out. And I kind of overcompensated. I stretched the original gasket a bit when I traced it. So I've put studs in all of these holes to try and you know, keep it aligned. I'll put some sealant there on the corner, and there is some sealant in there on the corner, but there's none on the outside, so I'll put a little bit on the outside. And I've put this piece in as well. I made this as well. This is made from 6mm sheet, so I hope that this all pulls down nicely. Okay. Right, so I'm not using sealant anywhere, so I'm sort of really testing the gaskets. I thought they came out quite well, and when I make some more, I'll kind of try and not introduce a stretch there. It'd be better to have the stretch going the other way, to be honest, so you have to stretch it slightly to put it on. Because, you know, you can do that when you're using the studs. Okay. This is on. I've had a go at safety wiring. I'm still not very good at safety wiring, but I've bought some thinner wire. It might be a bit thin for this job, but that's what it is. I haven't disturbed the others. Okay, righto. I will clean up the oil pan. I'll put the pump on, clean up the oil pan and button it up. Okay, back in a bit. Okay, well that's interesting. I kind of remembered that I hadn't actually used this oil pan before, and I was just cleaning it to fit it, and I sort of had forgotten how rusty it looked in this area here. So I've just been mopping out the oil using a bit of thinners, and as I put the cloth in that area there on this side, I could see something coming through on that side. Can you see that little bit that looks kind of dryish? That's because thinners has come through from the other side. So there's actually a hole in the oil pan. So I will investigate, and it might be that this oil pan is scrap, and I'll have to use a different one, unless I can kind of weld up that edge or something. I'll have a poke around now that I've got my doubts. It's a shame actually, because I did quite a big repair here. I'll put this down on this side in that area. Can you see it coming through there? Look. Where are we looking? Can you see that there? Look. So I'll go all along that lower edge now with a hammer and see if I can knock it through and see if it's weldable. So it might be that my oil seal fix was actually okay, and the problem is this. I suppose in some ways that's a good thing, because it means that you know, this motor is basically a sound motor. The only problem was the oil leak, and I thought the oil leak was due to this, but it wasn't. Okay, righto. I think this is a bit better now than it was though anyway, so, and it's got new gaskets here as well. Righto, back when there's more to show.